Hi, and welcome to the SEO Podcast, Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. My name is Chris Burres, one of the owners of EWR Digital.
And my name is Matt Bertram. I think we're both SEO strategists today if you are watching on the show.
By the way, if you are watching, you should definitely subscribe. You should definitely click that notification bell. We are wearing our EWR swag.
Yes,
you've got the hat on, though. Like you're looking particularly sharp today. We got a little geeky last time.
We did.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of do that pretty regularly.
We do that.
This time we're going to continue. The geekiness continues. This is part 2 of, what is it? Yandex data leak, the ranking factors and the myths that we found. This is by Dan Taylor. This is part 2. If you go back and listen to part 1, you'll know that I call him Christmas Dan.
You did.
And really, you just have to go back and to learn why.
Well, I think that there's a lot of good information in here.
Oh, yeah.
I was even digging through some more stuff earlier yesterday. Very, very excited. It is kind of Christmassy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't want to give the whole context because they want to go back to the previous podcast and figure out why in the world do we call this Yandex SEO expert Christmas Dan instead of just Dan Taylor. Go back and check it out. By the way, if you don't know, Yandex is the number 4. I think it's the number 4 search engine. It's probably right.
I would say Google, YouTube, then I would say probably Yandex. Maybe over Bing or
Badu. Like that's got to be
Baidu.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. It is
so
4th. Yeah,
I think it's the number 4 search engine in the world and the number 1 search engine in Russia. Right. So
and it's the number 1 data leak that everyone's talking about right now.
Hot off the presses. This happened in January of 2022. I think that's when this came out. Like that's pretty amazing. He wrote this post January 31st, so just before last month of the new year.
It's like this year.
It's this year.
It's
not last year. It's this year. It's like 10 days ago that he wrote this. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I may not always have the data in my head, but I can go get the data and then share it. And I'm very comfortable correcting myself. I was wrong. So we went in, we looked through a number of the things that Dan brought to light about really looking at this was basically the code was released from Yandex. This is everything. Like imagine the Google algorithm was released. What kind of mayhem would be caused, at least, on this podcast, if nothing else.
No, it would be a big deal.
It would be a huge
Google.
So this is the Yandex, and he's gone through with a bunch of his buddies, SEO buddies in Russia, to dig through the code and try and understand what it is. Go back and listen to part 1. We're going to jump into part 2.
Yes.
And the first line item is dwell time. So 102 of the ranking factors contain the tag. This is going to get a little geeky here, but TG user feet. Search dwell time. So the actual important piece in this case is the dwell time, and reference the device, the user duration, or the average page dwell time.
Sounds pretty common.
So that's 102 of these ranking factors. It says 39 of the factors were deprecated. We're not going to list off the 102. Google, he just points out that Google has made it clear that it doesn't use dwell time or similar user interaction signals as ranking factors. Yeah. We have.
I need buzzers. Chris. I need buzzers and sounds. Like I was watching some of our old podcasts.
Yeah.
And I don't. Every episode I had a stick,
right? like a hat or
and my hair was not great.
A hammer. We did start it. We started working together quite some time ago. That is the stress of the world.
Your money, your life. That's what we're going to get into here.
Yeah. Next is your money, your life. Because we can kind of agree that Google does use user interaction.
User interactions, dwell time. In analytics is really important. There's other factors involved on like looking at dwell time because it gives you so much information. What is someone doing on the page? Where are they going? Are they coming back to that page? How many times? there's so much information. I would gander to say that on-page interactions are more important than any other ranking factor. Now, Google continues to spin the wheel on weightings, but I would say one of the most recent weightings, it was all on page, all of it.
Is related
So there's almost no way that dwell time was not part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true, and we actually have some kind of
internal data that suggests that that dwell time is important.
So. That is important, and even some other SEO experts out there kind of understand that to be true.
Yeah.
YMYL, your money, your life, is a concept well known within Google, and it's not a new concept in Yandex. There are specific ranking factors for medical, legal, financial content that exist. This was notably revealed in 2019 at the Yandex Webmaster Conference when it was announced the Proxima search quality metric. So no surprise there.
So this might be talked about later, but I want to bring it up now because I think it's super valuable before I forget.
Yep.
So one of the big things, your money, your life, this is going back to the Google EAT, right? Like expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. But one of the big things is when you're publishing data, right? Yandex is looking at when it was published.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a lot of SEO people out there that sometimes obfuscate when that was published, like when that article was published, or even maybe you're not intentionally trying to do it, but like you're publishing a blog and it doesn't say who it's by and it doesn't say when it was published. And that is like the
opposite of EAT.
Well, yes, but also the length of time that the age of the domain.
Right.
And Google says, all that, we don't look at that. They do. Yeah. And so these are important things when you're publishing a blog. Like I was looking at a lot of different blogs, working in the oil and gas space pretty heavily. And there's best practices that need to be followed that, if you don't know what you're doing, you could be detrimentally hurting your site. And not only that, people that are launching new websites. Okay. Like I saw a lot of really nice, big, expensive websites that people have launched and they did not have an SEO consultant on board. Okay. Clearly, they had a designer, it looked pretty, but what it was
designer and a developer, not an SEO.
Yeah. You need a SEO. Like there's best practices even in-house that, you can have your team follow, like uploading images, compressing them before you do that. But there's a lot of these things that are so simple, and especially anything in your money, your life, to kind of bring it back. If you do it wrong, you will get dinged. Like there's other areas that, it's not that big a deal. In your money, your life, like if you're writing something about legal or financial or something like that, they're looking at, okay, who is that person saying this?
Right.
Is it accurate? And are there other trust indicators involved in that? And you might not be intentionally doing it and you might be hurting yourself, is what I'm saying. And in this category, it's extra important to know what you're doing.
So EAT is important. That's expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. The opposite would be negative EAT. Would that be neat?
I don't know where we're going, but all I know is in your money or life, like if you're doing something in that, you need to be consulting an SEO agent. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, the information is out there. So, you can go do it yourself. Just make sure you do it right or find someone that can. That's my point.
All right. Next on this Yandex data leak is Metrica data usage. Did you know what Metrica was before we jumped into this?
This is why we do this, because I learn stuff new all the time.
So really, Metrica is the equivalent of Google Analytics.
Okay.
Right. So 6 of the ranking factors relate to the usage of Metrica data for the purposes of ranking. However, one of them is tagged as deprecated. I'm going to list those 6 right here, and I'll point out which one was deprecated. So some of the Metrica data that is used is the number of similar visitors from the Yandex bar. Right. So you've got a Yandex bar. That's kind of like the bar that sits atop of your browser.
Uh-huh.
And so it's kind of comparing how many similar visitors are coming from the Yandex bar. The average time spent on URLs from those similar visitors. the core audience of pages on which there is a Metrica counter, and it says that one is deprecated. The average time a user spends on a host when accessed externally, and that means from a non-search site or from a specific URL.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. So the average time a user spends on a host site when accessed externally from another non-search site from a specific URL. So is that's
like a backlink?
Is
and
that
then
so?
They followed the
it's
backlink.
A referral click.
And how long did they stay? Yeah, what was their dwell time? Next is average depth, and this is the number of hits within the host of a user's stay on the host when accessed externally, again from a backlink or from a particular URL, and then whether or not the domain has Metrica installed.
So that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So if you don't use their analytics, they ding you.
Well, they're not saying they ding you. They're just saying it's a factor.
Okay.
Maybe Christmas Dan is not saying that they ding you, but it is a factor. I think we can.
So I guess in this next part it says, unlike Google Analytics, there's a number of reports focused on user loyalty, combined site engagement metrics with return frequency, duration between visits, and source of visit. For example, I can see a report in one click to break down the individual site visitors. Okay, so I didn't know if he was like making an extra point to install Metrica or not. So
I think it should be installed. He does point out that Metrica comes out of the box with heat map tools and user session recording. That would be kind of cool.
That would be awesome
to have
that all together, because I bet Metrica pulls that data into their database, and that's why they need it on there, so they don't have to work their other like machine learning so hard.
Now, to compare this with Google Analytics, right? With Google Analytics, there is an argument that Google doesn't use UA-GA4 data, right? So that's the Google Analytics data that it's collecting so that it can give you reports for ranking purposes because of how easy it is to modify or break the tracking code. I'm not sure I believe that. I've always had this suspicion, and my intuition says Google has access to all this data and can whitewash the data so it doesn't actually, reveal information about a particular URL. And then they can say, well, when we did our XYZ search result, what was the activity? So it's not an active component, it's a QA/QC of the search engine result.
Interesting, because one of the big things that I've been looking at is, Google's obfuscating. I can't even say that right now, but basically Google's hiding even more. Like, remember, you could see what people were doing, but you had to pay for it in Google AdWords.
Yeah.
Well, now, so now I was like referring back to Search Console, right? Because that's like anybody that comes to the website, even if the pixel doesn't fire, to see that data.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I've been on different devices searching for stuff to kind of, eyeball check some things out. And I've been doing some kind of weird searches and they're not showing up. So like, I know I'm doing these searches. I know I'm going to that website and it's not showing up in Google Analytics and it's not showing up in Search Console. So I always thought Search Console was the end all be all. Like that was all the data that was coming to the website. And then even like we have like Rank Math installed on our website, and that data is different too. So I'm like, they're grabbing data off the website when that pixel fires. Google Analytics data is different. And then Search Console is different. Third-party tools are different. Like there's no single source of truth. Like, and you're not getting all the data.
If you could install Metrica, if it's got an English interface,
that would be super interesting.
Then, and it would come with the heat map right out of the box. I mean, that's
I wonder about that. I wonder if it can read data from other search engines or just Yandex.
Oh, interesting. So what is but the reality is the pixel that is on that is Google Analytics that is on your site is
sure. I would think
just like Rank. What was the tool you just mentioned?
Rank Math.
Rank Math. Yeah. So like I think that that would be a way to kind of double check information.
Interesting. All right, we can keep going.
All right, we don't have numbers. Impact of traffic on rankings. So direct traffic and paid traffic, that's of course buying ads via Yandex Direct, can impact organic search performance. So here are things that they take into consideration according to the assessment of the algorithm that was, late. Percent share of direct visits among all incoming traffic.
Yes.
Green traffic share, that is direct visits on desktop. Green traffic share, direct visits on mobile. So that, I would say, that ratio.
Interesting.
Search traffic, transitions from search engines to the site. So how many of those are happening? Share of visits to the site, not by links. So this is set by hand or from bookmarks. What I don't know is what's the difference between direct visits and set by hand. I would have to think nothing, but from bookmarks could be something, and I'm not sure that it would know those unless you've got the Yandex toolbar.
Well, okay, couple things. One is, I know on desktop and mobile you can have different rankings based on load time.
Yep.
What gets loaded, like they're looked at independently to a certain degree. And then going to the bookmarks by hand to answer your question, the bookmark is a link click, right? It's a link click. By hand means probably typing it in.
Well, yeah. So I would say that the first one, direct visits, is set by hand. Those are kind of the same thing. Now, does a bookmark from a Chrome browser or any browser show up as the browser being the referral source? Maybe it does. That I've never tried to dig into that. So that's how they would know it's a bookmark versus a standard backlink or a search engine click or being typed in by hand. So next, the number of unique visitors. So that's important. And I think this is all the ratios. It's not any one thing. It's how they compare to others. And then share of traffic from search engine. So it's going to look at the balance of all of those. The next one is news factors. There are a number of factors related to news, including 2 that mention Yandex News directly. Now, interesting. Yandex News is kind of the equivalent of Google News, but it was sold to the Russian social network von Kontakt.
I was wondering how, I didn't know what it was going to be, and I wanted to
Contact in August of 2022, along with another Yandex product called Zen.
Oh, I could have said that one for you.
Go.
Zen.
So it's not clear, Matt, I'll let you handle this one. So it's not clear if these factors related to a product no longer owned or operated by Yandex, or to how news websites are ranked in regular search. So they basically, Yandex News was mentioned, maybe it's deprecated, and maybe it continues to have importance, even though Yandex no longer owns the Yandex News.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk about backlink importance, right? We know how important this is in the Google sphere. So Yandex has similar algorithms to combat link manipulation as Google, and has since the NIPOT filter of 2005.
I love all these names, and they're new to me. Like it's like a whole new world. It's interesting.
That's
Yandex Direct. I like it.
Parallel.
Yeah.
From reviewing the backlink ranking factors, we can assume that the best practices for building links for Yandex SEO would be the following: build links with a more natural frequency and varying amounts. We were actually just talking about this before the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Build links with branded anchor text as well as commercial keywords. So commercial keyword anchor text.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to explain it to people.
Yeah.
Like, so I wanted to go into more detail.
You want me to wing it? I can wing it.
No, like I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was valuable.
Okay, go.
Sorry, you're like getting into this.
No, it's good.
Well, so I think that when you're building backlinks, and certainly on page or other websites that you can control, you have a lot more ability to do this versus submitting to publishers, that sort of thing. But branded is like the name of your company.
Yep.
So you want to have like branded, branded plus commercial keywords, like EWR digital marketing agency or SEO services, but EWR digital SEO services, right? You want a combination mix there, and then branded searches, and then you can even have searches with location based in it, or locations in like the paragraph. And so
and then unbranded,
and then complete unbranded. You could have click here website, like things like that.
Well, so that's
and then you can have naked.
yeah, that's almost
Right.
naked, right? Because it's just click here, right?
Well, I would have
What's the
put
definition?
naked in the category of just the URL. Like
just the URL.
Just
okay,
the
yeah.
URL.
Yeah.
So
No
have,
anchor text.
yeah. So having like different variant amounts, and I have some suspicions on what the variant amounts they're looking for, because also if it's weighted wrong or it's weighted unnaturally,
Yep.
it's very easy to see.
Yep.
Right. And so, but I think that understanding that mix is important. So, all right, go back into it. Sorry.
Yeah. So branded anchor text, you talked about that. Like the brand commercial keywords are going to be like digital marketing agency or SEO services or, plumbing services. Now, if buying links, avoid buying links from websites that have mixed topics. So you want to make sure you're in the Yandex sphere. This is also true in Google, that if you've got a website that's entirely that you want to link from, that you want to do a guest post on, and you want to buy a link in this case because it's a purchase link, then make sure that they're topic specific to what you're doing.
And that should be sponsored, like if you're getting that. But what I would tell you too is why is mixed topics bad? Okay. And the reason mixed topics bad is because you're trying to connect with other sites that are similar to yours to get similar type of traffic. It's like really the Google is looking for kind of everyone linking hands with other experts and other experts linking to them. So if you're linking to like a random all news site, okay, it's going to have varying traffic. It's going to have varying links. It's going to be very confusing on mixed signals. So it's really like you're looking for something more homogeneous. So, okay, we can keep going.
All right. Here is a list of link-related factors that can be considered affirmations of best practices. Again, this came out of the analysis. The age of the backlink is a factor. Link relevance based on topics, factor. Backlinks built from home pages carry more weight than internal pages. Links from the top 100 websites by page rank can impact rankings significantly. Link relevance based on the quality of each link. Link relevance taking into account the quality of each link and the topic of each link. So both those combined. And then link relevance taking into account the non-commercial nature of each link. Percentage of inbound links with query keywords, percentage of query words in links, so up, and it can count, including a synonym. The links containing all the words of the query, again, synonym included. Dispersion of the number of query words in the links. These are all stuff that we kind of know. And just make really good sense. There are some link-related factors that are additional considerations, including planning, monitoring, and analyzing backlinks. So the ratio of good versus backlinks on a website, you want to understand and measure that and take it into consideration. The frequency of links to the site, and then finally the number of incoming SEO trash links between hosts. I'm pretty sure they didn't say trash links between hosts.
I mean, Google just did 2 spam updates that really affected it, but a lot of times SEOs would create just a ton of low quality links that had no real value just to get anchor text in there or to get links. But there's factors on referral traffic, quality of the pages, what the other links are, like all these other factors apply. It's basically category of good and bad, like high quality links. And again, focus on generating the high quality links, because one of those is worth hundreds or maybe 100, or like the ratio is going to vary on the quality of that link, on what it is versus something else. And instead of like, go after quantity, not quality. Quality, not quantity.
It's gonna have exponential value. The link spam calculator has around 80 active factors that are taken into consideration. This does create the question as to how well Yandex is able to recognize negative SEO attacks, right? So that's when you just buy a bunch of spammy links and point them to a website. That can be a negative SEO attack.
And that has been something that I've had to deal with in the past. And what is interesting is that ratio. If you have too many spammy links to good links, it puts this kind of damper effect on your rankings. And so really be a purist on really high quality links of what you're looking for. And Now, there's a whole nother debate here on if you can even say, hey, I don't want to claim these links with Google, but that's not for this
conversation.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Yandex penalties. There are 2 ranking factors. Both of them are deprecated, and pessimization refers to reducing page rank to 0 and aligns with the expectations of severe Yandex penalties. Page rank to 0. That makes sense. And then spam karma also aligns with the assumption made around Yandex penalizing hosts and individuals as well as individual domains, meaning like it's karma. You're in the wrong neighborhood. We talk about make sure that the server you're on, you actually have some idea about what other domains are on there. Because if you're on a server loaded with a bunch of spam, negative value domains, then that can have an impact. In Yandex, it's called spam karma, which is kind of a cool name.
Cool.
All right. And then I think this is finally. Is this finally? I think this is finally. Nope. There's 2 more. On-page advertising. It is assumed that a high ratio of advertisements to visible screen, it was a negative factor, much like how Google takes umbrage if advertisements obfuscate the page. They used your word. You've been using that word the whole day. The page's main content or are obtrusive. So we know this sits in Google. It also sits in Yandex.
It's a bad customer experience.
Yep. Proxima update also took into consideration the ratio of useful and advertising content on a page.
Yeah.
Can we apply any Yandex learnings to Google? It's kind of why we're doing this, right? There are tens of engineers who have worked for both companies. Like, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. Because of this, we can infer that some of these master builders and engineers will have built things in a similar fashion, although, obviously not direct copies. So yeah, there's learnings that
I'm sure.
confirmations that we can bring across. What are Russian SEO pros saying about this leak? And really in the forums, Christmas Dan jumped in and was like, hey, what are these common questions? And I'm just going to throw them out here, right?
Yeah.
Webmasters asking for insights into recent filters, such as mimicry and the updated PF filter. Go back to the previous podcast.
Yes,
because we discussed the PF filter. The age and relevance of some of the factors due to the author's names no longer being at Yandex or mentions of long retired Yandex products, right? If Yandex no longer owns Yandex News, is that
if it's in the data week, how old is the data? So I think that's fair. Yeah.
Very fair. The main interesting learnings are around the use of Metrica data and information related to the crawler and indexer. So I think, yes, that would be like, how exciting and interesting would it be that, the Google algorithm gets thrown out there and like, oh, Chris was wrong the whole time. Google was actually incorporating Google Analytics data into their SERP predictions right from the beginning. And then finally, a debate around ICS scoring in Yandex and whether or not Yandex may provide traffic to a site and influence to its own factors by doing so. And I thought this was really interesting to kind of wrap this up. There's a long-standing sentiment in the Russian SEO community that Yandex oftentimes favors its own products and services and search results ahead of other websites.
So does Google.
We've had that feeling for sure. And the question is, why does Yandex bother when it just nails its services to the top of the page anyway? So they're on the top of the page, like Google Maps is up there, Google, YouTube is YouTube.
Well,
really isn't
but if
there.
People are searching for something else, like
well, I think it makes sense because you're not coming to every page and looking at the links that are always there, right? You're going to come to the page and you're going to look at the links because this is a relevant search result. And if Yandex wants to show their stuff, they're going to show their stuff. In Google, we would call these search engine page features like Google Hotels, right? So they're okay. So it's not just at the top of the search; it's actually in the top of the ranking. Yeah. So it's there.
Like for sure, you want it on the page as many times as possible. We've definitely had that conversation.
And then finally, I thought this was important. I mean, interesting. I don't know how important it is. In October of 2022, Kassir, a Russian ticket portal, so like Ticketmaster, claimed 328 rubles, I think it's rubles, of compensation from Yandex due to lost revenue because Yandex pushed them down, right? So when Yandex launched its own
300,000 though, I think it was
328 million, which is
okay.
4.5 million US.
Okay.
As the penalty.
Yeah.
Because imagine Ticketmaster sitting there.
You lost a bunch of money.
Yeah. Google comes out with a ticketing thing and pushes Ticketmaster down 4.5 million.
Well, Ticketmaster's like website sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it should get pushed down. If that's the analogy you're using.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer. Hey, you know what? I didn't read a review, so I'm going to save it for next time.
Okay.
I think we should just launch on out of here.
All right, let's do it.
If you, we gotta end with this. If you would like to grow your business with the largest, simplest marketing tool on the planet,
the internet,
go to EWR Digital for increased revenue in your business. Once you are on EWRdigital.com. Click the free consultation button.
Yes.
Schedule, like how convenient this is. Schedule a time that works for you right there.
Yeah. Just scroll down on the page, pick a time that works for you. We'll have one of our consultants ready to go and look forward to speaking with you. Hope you got value in this. Please leave us a review. You can check us out on Best SEO Podcast on any platform.
Yep.
We appreciate all the support.
All the follows, all the likes, all the notification bells, all of it. Please do it. Until the next podcast, my name is Chris Burres.
My name is Matt Bertram. Bye-bye for now.